He could reach her faster swimming than he could rowing. He stood up, violently pitching the little boat. "Hey! Are you crazy? You're gonna swamp us!" Sean twisted on his seat in time to see the old woman's chin sliding into the water. "Oh, shit!" he said. Russ shoved his jeans down and kicked them off, knocking over both their beers in the process. He balanced one foot on the hull's edge and launched himself into the water. Even in mid-June, the reservoir was cold, still gorged on the icy spring runoff from the Adirondacks. His whole body flinched inward, but he struck out for the shore. Long, hard strokes through the water, his face dipping rhythmically in, out, in, sacrificing his view of her for the speed. He drew up to where the shadow of the somber pines split the water into light and dark. He treaded water, spinning around, looking for a sign of her. She had vanished. "She went there!" Sean yelled. He was struggling to get the rowboat turned around. "There! A couple yards to your left!" Russ took a deep breath and submerged. In the deep twilight of the water, he could just see her, a pale wraith flickering at the edge of his vision. As he arrowed toward her, she emerged from the gloom like a photograph being developed. She was still walking downward. That was what was so creepy. Toes brushing against the coarse-grained bottom, flowered dress billowing, white hair floating. She was still walking downward, like a drowned ghost. And then, as if she could hear the pounding of his heart, she turned and looked at him, open-eyed under the water. Her eyes were black, set in a white, withered face. It was like having a dead woman stare at him. He was an easy swimmer, confident in the water, but at her look, he panicked. He opened his mouth, lost his air, and struck up wildly for the surface, thrashing, kicking. He emerged, choking and spluttering, hacking and gulping air. Sean was rowing toward him, still a couple dozen yards away, and he knelt up on the bench when he saw Russ. "Can you find her?" he shouted. "Are you okay?" Unable to speak, Russ raised his hand. Sean's hand froze on the oar. "Jesus! She's not dead already?" She wasn't yet, but she would be if he didn't get his act together and haul her out of the water. Without letting himself think about it any further, Russ took a deep breath and doubled over, back into the deep. This time when she appeared in his sight, he ignored her face and concentrated on wrapping his arm around her chin in the standard life-saving position. She struggled against him, clawing at his arm and pulling his hair, which was almost a relief compared to her weird ghost-like walking. Something normal, something he could deal with. He tightened his grip and churned upward, his free arm aching with the effort, her dress tangling his legs. Before he reached the surface, he felt her go limp. How many minutes since she walked in? Time yawned open. It felt like he had been under the lake forever. When he split the water, hauling her with him, she drifted, slack, held up by his arm beneath her chin. "Oh, no you don't." He turned onto his back and stroked hard toward shore, floating her near his chest, so lost in the rhythm of pull and breath and kick that he didn't realize he was there until he reached back and hit coarse grit instead of cold water. He rolled to his knees and half dragged, half carried the old lady onto the grass. He pinched her nose, tilted her head back, and began mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Blow, breathe, blow, breathe. He heard the scrape of the rowboat's keel, and then Sean was there, falling to his knees on the other side of the old lady's head. He pushed against Russ's shoulder. "Let me take a turn, man," he said. "You need to get a breath for yourself." Russ nodded. He watched as Sean picked up his rhythm, and then Russ let himself collapse into the grass.